brethren, sisterin, we have an extremely special treat wrapped from Bucky's San Antonio. We have Jacob Gerhart on the pod today. Thanks for coming on, brother.
Yeah, thank you.
So, do you like Bucky's? Was that an okay reference?
Oh, I love Bucky's.
Okay, cool.
Especially the beaver nuggets.
What the beaver, dude, I love the sugar cashews. Have you ever had those?
I haven't.
Oh, dude, that's some special stuff down there. Yeah, that's. I'm wondering when Bucky's will make a venture up north and come visit us.
Well, they've had a sign up in my hometown for about 5 years. It says right now it says TikTok, but they change it every couple of years. They're like ready for Bucky's because they're supposedly building one, and it's been 5 years and they haven't even broken ground. So might be a while.
Well, dude, if you haven't been to Bucky's National Treasure, and hopefully they'll be close to not just Jacob but a lot of us here in Utah that listen to the pod. So Jacob, before I hop into it, let's talk a little bit about your accolades, where you're from, kind of just walk us forward on your sales journey to date.
All right, so I'm from San Antonio, as you mentioned. I got to know, well, I originally thought about doing sales when, a lot of people do it. I knew some guys who did it, and I had always heard like, oh, you can make a lot of money with sales. It's a good financial decision for a college student. And I decided to look more into it, and I had there was a family friend of mine who had done sales, and I trusted him. So I gave him a call, and he said, hey, my uncle does it, but I don't know if he has room on his team, but he recommends this guy, Dawson, who runs Bird. So I gave Dawson a call, and over the next couple of months, I berated him with questions about everything I could possibly think of, and here we are.
I love it. Shout out to the Updike family, by the way, for connecting us. That was really nice of them, and I'm glad I've been able to make a great friend out of it. Mm-hmm. I do want to talk to there's a part of that story that I actually you've told me in a different time, but I want to kind of talk about it. You had a lot of people in your family kind of telling you, hey, like, I don't know if sales is it. Mm-hmm. Maybe look at other opportunities. Was that tough for you in weighing your decision? And like, kind of tell us that story and kind of like how you felt and whatnot.
Yeah. So my family, I love my parents. First off, they're awesome. They have my best interests in mind, and so they saw sales. No one had ever really done it except for my brother, and he didn't really like it. And so they were really kind of like, well, I don't really think this is a good idea. For your own good. It's everyone knows you get paid on commission. And so a lot of people go out and, you hear the horror stories everywhere. So they were like, they really didn't think it was a good idea, that did definitely make it a difficult decision for me. But ultimately I decided, kind of to spite people who were kind of telling me I couldn't do it. I'm just kind of like that, but I was like, I'm doing it. And so I made the decision to go out and give it my all, and that's my plan was, if it didn't work out, to just try to tech or quit or something like that, but obviously it worked out. So
do you know when I knew it was going to work out for you?
When?
So we were in the car together, and this is after your training you'd gone through with me, and I was kind of talking to you, but like, hey, like, kind of what are your thoughts and stuff like that. You're like Dawson, I don't even care if I don't really care if I make a ton of money. You're like, I did this to do something hard.
Oh, I did, yeah.
And I remember when I heard that, like, I hadn't heard many people just be like, hard things are good for me. And I think a lot of times people say that on an Instagram reel, or they'll say it in a meeting. But where I felt really genuine from you, that you were just like, I'm doing this because I want to do hard things, and I want to push myself and challenge and be better. I remember it really just touched my heart. I was like, I want to do hard things. I want to find new things to climb. And so I think a lot of people listening to this could gain a ton from your story of being like, because everyone's got a different kind of coming to sales. Like, a lot of times friends or family will tell you not to do it. A lot of times people will think it's not built in how they're wired to go out and sell. But I just love the mentality that you had, that like, hey, we do hard things.
And if I could add, I am one of those people who believed that I wasn't really wired to do sales. I originally actually thought I wasn't a people person, and I just gave myself that label. And over the summer I realized that that was just a label. And even though I am a little more like, I tend to overthink things a lot of the time, I mean, I learned a lot from that summer, and it taught me that I actually am a people person, and I was able to do well even in spite of that.
You're a big people guy, and I honestly, even we just got back from like the company trip, and I was amazed. Like, I saw you with one group one day, and then another. And like you have a great ability to kind of like, one, just kind of like put your foot in the door with people, and then also two, just kind of blend in and have fun and enjoy yourself with a lot of people. So I'm glad you were able to redefine yourself kind of out there this summer and make that happen.
Yeah.
Cool. I love that. One of just on the I like we can do hard things note. I heard a story recently that I really really liked. When the USA was about to go to the moon, or when they hadn't really announced it yet, JFK was down in Houston, and he gave a speech that he has a famous line that I really like, and I actually just got a poster of it in my office. But in it, before there was a space program, before there was any feasible idea of going to the moon, he told everyone that they were going to go to the moon within 10 years in the speech. And hearing it now, you're like, oh, depending on where you believe, if you actually believe we went. But back then, no one thought it was possible. No one thought that like there was any way they were going to do it. But he said, in under 10 years, we're going to go to the moon. And he said, we choose to go to the moon not because it is easy, but because it is hard. And I just think that's just such a cool way to live, like embracing challenges, going towards things. I think a lot of times people try to like, I'm going to be comfortable, I'm going to save things and kind of make things nice. But I think so much of the adventure of life or the fun of it is just going out and doing what's hard.
Absolutely.
So it was cool. As far as like, you took a big leap of faith just like coming out with me and stuff, and like we only met over like Zoom calls and stuff like that prior. Was that at all like nerve wracking for you, or did you think like, who is this weird dude for like, or was it like because obviously there were other people talking to you, and what made you feel like, I mean obviously the family friend referring you on, but like what made you feel like, okay, yeah, like I will come out here, or I like this about Bert, or? Well,
first off, I feel like there's a certain degree of trust that was built, in that one of the other companies, I won't name them, that was interviewing me, they tried to get me to sign within an hour of meeting them and like sign everything like without looking at the numbers. They were like, we'll give you a free iPad, all this kind of stuff. And while like maybe that would have been a good decision, it kind of put me off. And when I was talking to you, you answered all my questions, you sent over the training videos, and you were kind of walking me through the process. And yeah, we were only talking over the phone, but things kind of, they just went, I could just kind of tell that there's obviously a certain amount of risk, and you have to take risks in life for it to be worth it, but I felt that risk was acceptable. Yeah, I felt it was a healthy amount.
Well, it's good, and I honestly think going with your gut is just a big thing.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, like, there's that pit in your stomach that's like, man, this is going to be hard, but I think I should go out and do this. And I think it's awesome that you chose to follow that and make that happen. So talk to me about your sales journey, because kind of starting out, it was a little bit like, was it slower than you anticipated? Was it like walk me through on like getting up and getting to fly? Like, how was that journey for you, and what can we all learn from it?
Well, first off, I know how I learn, and I know that I sometimes have a longer learning curve because I like to learn a lot more up front than I think most other people do. And so that's why I decided to come out a week or two early. And so I expected it would take a little bit longer than, maybe somebody else, but it honestly went pretty much how I expected it to go. Do you want me to tell how?
Well, dude, you remember the Airbnb we were in?
I do, yeah.
We had like this Airbnb was crazy, dude. It had like a Beatles themed like living room. I was in one bedroom. that had like these like Asian art.
It was like the lion wall, right?
Yeah. And like that was just it was just a funky space, and it was just me and you in Dallas for
like a week at least.
Yeah, for a week and a half, and then everyone still slowly started to come out after that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely a core memory and fun. But sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good.
But yeah, like just walk us through on that like beginning start.
So the beginning, I went out, and I remember we went down to Waxahachie, and you made like 4 sales in like, 2 hours, and you're like, this isn't actually normal. This is going really good today. And I was like, looks easy to me. And then I went out by myself, and I was like, Dawson, what am I doing? I need help. So that's how the first day was. I feel like that's normal for a lot of people to have a lot of doubts. But I just worked through it. What helped me a lot was role plays, and like the shadowing helped a lot. Role plays helped a lot, and I kind of just built up like the knowledge as I went, and as I would talk to people, I would take notes. So after a door that I felt was especially hard, or something I felt like I could learn, I would take a note and I'd ask you, or I'd ask somebody else after. And this was your suggestion, but it's something I still do with not just knocking. So it helps a lot. So I did that, and then I just learned as I went.
That record keeping is so important because there's things you forget, but when you have them in that moment, you can feel them. It's so real. But you also have to keep going because you only have so many days out in the summer.
So you write it down.
What else did I want to ask on that? Well, let's maybe go here. So you like kind of get going. When did it start to click? When were things like this is what I did. This is what was. And actually, can I ask you something before that?
Mm-hmm.
You did a lot of the preseason training, like in the year prior, and I'm sure, and obviously that helped, like kind of getting up and getting going. What are some things you wish you would have done or wish you would have implemented in the preseason training? Seeing now that we're still a couple months out from the summer, people are starting to get ready and get going. Can you speak to that group of people that has never been out for a summer and what they need to do to
Honestly, I would go on a blitz. Or I would go and just knock doors for any reason at all. Because if you kind of because once you start to see the reactions people have and how to interact with them, all the trainings make a lot more sense, and you become more interested in applying them. The reason I say this is over Christmas break, me and my buddy, I told you this, we knocked doors in my hometown to pressure washing.
Yeah.
And it went way better than I expected, but I also saw him struggling with everything I struggled with when I started. And I'm still trying to help him through it. And but also doing that, like with a kind of a different type of thing I was selling, it kind of made me, it's different. There's different questions I have. And if I had done that with this, I would have been able to ask those questions in preseason and get that training already done. And I would have been able to apply what I was learning during that time I was knocking. So I feel like that would have been really helpful, just getting actual on-the-door practice, whatever it is, or just talking to more people. And just opening up more.
Experience is the greatest teacher, man. It'll definitely put some hair on your chest. Well, cool. I like that. I like that advice. As far as year 2, you're going into that now. Obviously there's a whole new set of goals, a whole new vision. What are some things that you have in store in year 2? Like, what are some things you're hoping to change? What are some things you're hoping to accomplish?
I actually thought a lot about this. So, in year 1. I feel like a lot of the time, so I was roommates with Cade Oracle, the Oracle, as everyone knows him.
Shout out Cade.
Yeah, shout out to Cade. One of the things that I saw he did was he was always the first out, and he sometimes would sleep sell, like he would like sleep talk, but he would be selling somebody. And so he was obviously thinking about it a lot. He was doing a lot of work. And sorry, Kate, if you didn't want anyone to hear that, but I think it's a compliment that he was doing a lot of work, obviously.
Yeah.
And I feel like I got kind of during the middle of the summer, like in the very middle. I remember you were telling us a lot, like it feels like it's going to go on forever, but we're really almost done. I was like, oh sure, Dawson, whatever. But it's true. Like those days are just as important as the first and the last day.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to change this summer is getting out, being the first out, going out early and not wasting any time, because it's really, you're packing a lot of work into a summer for a reason, because the more you can get done, the more these things are rattling. The more it'll benefit, the more you can get done, the more it will benefit you for like the coming season of college. So I would do that.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I mean, when you get out there in the summer, it's like we're going to be here forever, but then you realize it's a sprint, and that how hard you're working there impacts your financial earnings for the entire 12 months.
Yeah, like a couple more hours of selling, it helps a lot.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, what you realize too as those years goes on is actually if you can string together a couple good years, that's a home, that's a like that just sets you up on a whole new trajectory wherever your skill set or wherever your level's at. It just gives you the opportunity to climb at a faster and faster rate. So I love that. As far as some of your favorite like things to like implement on the door or things to actually say to the customer, what are some things that you like learned and liked that maybe have helped you in everyday life?
I really like one of the things that I learned. Something I learned on the doors that I still apply, or something like one of my favorite things to say. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. And maybe like it could even be what did you like that you learned on the doors you still use there, or what's just like maybe a tactic or a close or stuff like that.
Something that I really like, and in my public speaking class I'm taking, we actually watched this video that you showed us yesterday about the why, and I saw the poster in your office today of Steve Jobs saying, what's the quote?
Think different.
Think different. So the example given was Apple, and how the why is more important than the what and the how. And I love to focus on the what, and I love to focus on the how, but the why is I literally focus less on the why than those two. That's by far the most important.
Yeah.
Always focus on the why. When you're trying to sell something to someone, yeah, I gotta flip those words. When you're trying to sell something to someone, you gotta focus on the why, because you would tell me this all the time, like you're focusing too much on what we're doing. Like explain, and you'd obviously say it in like a constructive way. You're focusing too much on what we're doing. Explain the why, because that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
Yeah.
And it's the same in everyday life. Like if you're trying to convince someone of something, you don't tell them what. They already know what you want. They've already said either yes or no to it. But if you're trying to convince them, tell them why.
100%. People get lost in the day-to-day or what they're doing, and getting really good at getting to the core purpose of like why you're there, I think is great, not just in a door-to-door sense, but because people will go on, we're all going to do something different after this, but being really, really rooted in like what your core purpose of being there is, and understanding when you do run into a different problem, you do run into a different thing, think, okay, what's the main reason I'm here? I remember like I would go out and when I ran into problems in sales, like I just talked about it on a previous podcast, but one of my big whys my very first summer was like, I'm here to make enough money to invest in something passively so I don't have to work. And then when I went through pain, I was like, I'm here so I don't have to work, like eventually. And then I remember like problems would come up and stuff like that, and I would work back from my why forward. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this or that. And I think that intentionality of being like, I'm going to be very intentional about like why I'm in this circumstance, and then it helps you navigate to everything else. Whereas sometimes like if you're just focusing on like we do this because this is what we do, it's just a sandy foundation to be on. Mm-hmm. So well, cool. On top of like summer sales and stuff like that, there's a lot of stuff that happens that's not even like sales psychology, that's not even sales throughout the summer. What are some things maybe off door, like not involved in the team meeting or in that you're like, this could dramatically change someone's sales, or this is something that I want to do different next time, like that's maybe not directly in the morning meeting or directly on the doors, that I think could enhance your or my experience. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. Simplifying your day. Because especially for me, if I'm making a schedule, it gets complicated real quick. And so in anything you're doing, don't plan too much if you tend to overplan, and obviously don't plan too little if you tend to underplan. But simplifying your day, and you would talk about this a lot too, just simplifying your day helps a lot. Like I would spend so much time planning where I was going to go, and then it wouldn't work out, and then I would end up going somewhere completely different, and the plan would have just gone by the wayside. And that applies in, I mean, right? It applies in everyday life. So like simplifying your school day. The more complicated it is, honestly, the less you're going to want to follow through with it because it just feels like a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and the decision fatigue, like a lot of times
exactly.
by overloading your day, like being half there or even 80% or 70% like mentally because you're stacking it too full, you'll get thrown off. And when you look at the most successful people, whether it's from a religious aspect to a financial to whatever it is, they're really, really good at decluttering and just doing a few simple things with 100% of their heart, mind, and strength, and they end up being really, really successful. So I love that.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about you and the crusty custies. So you have everyone has a story of like someone they ran into or stuff like that. But where's maybe like a triumph you had where you're like when you feel like you're a magician, like somehow I turned that person from thinking this way to this way and it was awesome. What was maybe like a situation like that during the summer where you changed someone's mind?
There was this guy who I was on the door, and I really didn't believe that I was going to sell him, and I just kept on. I honestly, in my head, I was just like, you know what, I'm here. A lot of times I give up at this point. What if I just keep going? I literally just did everything that I had been told to do, and he was like, yeah, I guess I'll buy it, and it was a pretty good contract value too, and I was surprised by that because I didn't think I was going to sell him. I was just like, shoot, I'll just keep going. I'll just keep doing it. May as well. And then he bought. And I was like, so I was surprised because he, like, doing what I had been told, like, go figure, there's a reason. Turns out there's a reason for all the stuff Dawson told me. So doing all of that, like, lowering the price a certain amount, not too much, but giving reasons for what you're doing, it helps a lot to keep going through the steps even if you feel like it's not going to work, because it can become monotonous if you're doing the same thing every day. But those people, it's the first and last time they're going to see you probably. So but while you're doing it all day, like that's the only time they're going to see you.
Have you ever played the video game Among Us?
Yeah, I have.
So it was really popular a couple of years ago, but basically in the game you can only see on the screen basically your guy has a flashlight too. Like it's very, very, very limited vision. And when you're starting out learning the pitch, you can only see from your past experiences just very, very small. But one of the cool things is as you've had those journeys where you fight through objections or spend time with the customer and then close them, you start to learn the skeleton of the whole map or the room or where you need to go. And you're able to like, it's illuminated not because you can actually see everything, but because you've already ran that track so many times. And I think that's almost, it's way more powerful, like running on that kind of track rather than just being able to like see everything without like a mature, like a matured experience view.
Yeah.
So I definitely think if you are new and you're running into problems in the pitch, just being willing to be in the fight and stay there a little longer than you think you should or ought to be, you're going to learn something even if you don't get the sale. And you'll eventually find where to turn that corner to find what you need.
And just putting yourself in uncomfortable situations too. There was a guy who I knocked his door. He was like, this is no soliciting neighborhood. I'm going to call the cops on you. He had the paper. It was like, this is no soliciting. You can't be here. And then he bought.
What?
I was like, what the heck? Like, he was like, now that I think about it, we have some bugs. And I was in my head, I was like, what is going on right now? And then he bought pest control.
Let's go. Dude, turning those guys is tough. So anyone listening to this, know that is a feat.
I was shocked. He had the paper and everything. He was like, he went and got it from his house and brought it out.
Jacob, you're one of the people that I actually would have loved to have been a fly on a wall most this summer. I feel like there's a lot of good stories.
Oh, there would be stories for sure.
That's awesome. Well, cool. Well, maybe do you have any like quotes or literature or stuff that you've referenced that could help this group of people that are trying to go out and sell and just improve their lifestyle?
Yeah, I do. This wristband says "Never quit." I've had it for a long time, and it's never quit. That's what it says all around it.
I love it.
And I honestly probably looked at it a lot during the summer because there were a lot of hard times. But this wristband, it kind of reminds me of, like, obviously it's only a wristband. It only goes so far. But if you just putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, and I love a phrase that a lot of like law enforcement and military use it. It's called "embrace the suck." Have you heard it?
Yeah, I have.
I thought it was the stupidest thing I'd ever heard the first time I heard it. And then I started seeing it more, and I was like, that actually makes sense. Because if you embrace what sucks as the means to get to the goal that you want, then it actually becomes almost enjoyable. Because it's like these are the stepping stones to get to this goal, like this car, this house, to be the person I want to be. Like, embrace the suck, embrace the hard, because anything worth fighting for is going to be, or anything worth your time is probably going to be hard. So if you don't embrace the suck, I mean, you're going to have to go through it either way. You may as well embrace it.
Yeah. I like that too, that you have it on your wrist, like the never quit, because I think a lot of times as human beings, we know what we need to do, but we don't review what's important enough to actually put it into our actions and our thoughts and our words. And I think just being able to see it on your wrist or just hold it up in front of you every day.
Yeah, sometimes I'm just like,
I just think there's a lot of power to that.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Well, cool, Jacob. Dude, honestly, I feel like this has been a really powerful podcast for me and just learning and stuff like that.
I've enjoyed it.
But I appreciate all that you do. I think you're a great team member too.
Thanks.
Everyone on the whole this summer, the whole office loved Jacob, and
that's good.
and they enjoyed the personality and the fun and the good times. And I just want to publicly apologize too for the one time I told you to not park in the back, because I think I scarred some people that day. So
I thought that was funny. That was like the one time I've actually seen you, like, I think there was just a lot going on. Like, you weren't like mad, but like you're just like, oh, not again. That was totally my fault too, because I was just parking there every day, to leaving the little Hyundai in the back, just right in the way of all the tech trucks.
Well, here's the thing. It's a funny memory now.
A good summer.
I loved working with you. I think you've got so many good things, like, just ahead of you, but also just that you've done. So appreciate you, bro, and thanks for coming on and teaching all
Yeah,
of us.
for sure. Thanks.